Sherman of Just in Time Baseball. Justin, thanks for joining us, man.
Gentlemen, Tyler, Dan, thank you so much for having me on. This is awesome. You guys do an outstanding job, and I was so pumped when you asked me to join. I'm really just so pumped. Thank you so much.
Awesome, man. It's a pleasure. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Yeah, man, it's crazy times, and we appreciate you making time. We know you should be a lot busier, as with everybody in the baseball, softball, sports community, man. You know, it is the NFL draft night, so, thanks for jumping in here with us. One thing we always like to do, because it's different for everybody, depending on where you grow up. You're in the Northeast, so your story growing up playing baseball is a lot different than a Southern California kid or a Florida kid. So what was baseball like for you growing up? And what were some of the challenges you faced being up in the Northeast? You know what I mean? And what did you do to kind of, work yourself around some of those obstacles?
It's a fantastic question. And you guys are definitely legit and awesome. And that's, I wouldn't expect anything less than that. So the Northeast, yes, like you guys in the Northeast area as well. Definitely a little bit of a disadvantage, but I tried not to look at that because basically it was kind of out of my control. But I mean, there were certainly some disadvantages as far as where, at this time last year, it might have been snowing, whereas in California, like you said, California, it's 75 degrees and no humidity and gorgeous, and they're playing baseball, and they're most likely playing more games. I mean, definitely playing more games. So the disadvantage right away is playing more games, 100%. I mean, just purely on weather, rain, snow in the Northeast. I mean, it's inevitable that it's going to be a disadvantage. So right off the bat, kids are playing more baseball. The more baseball you're playing, so baseball, softball, the better you're going to be. I mean, it's just that simple. So yes, that was a disadvantage, but at the same time, I see the advantage to turn into a positive where maybe a kid might get burnt out. I maybe didn't get as burnt out as maybe say a kid in Florida or California because I play basketball, I play football. I was on the swim team in high school. So maybe that's the advantage to the weather being, a disadvantage in weather. Maybe that's an advantage, if that answers your question.
Yeah. Hey, real quick, I want to jump in here because I think it's underrated is swimming, how it's such a full body workout. And for kids who may not be a superstar athlete like a basketball player, it's such a fantastic aerobic exercise to stay in such great shape. And I know some of our kids take advantage of it in our area. And it's, not everywhere has swimming as a high school sport, something like that. But man, can you talk about some of the benefit you got from doing that as an athlete?
So it's funny you say that, Tyler. I was swimming up until this whole Corona thing came out. I continued the swimming. So even during my baseball season, when I was a college baseball player and just grinding, I would always find time to make it to the pool because I felt the best after I got out of the water. I mean, I'm like a fish. So I continue that. And a lot of the kids that I train, I harp and really emphasize swimming as a great way to stay agile, flexible while building cardiovascular endurance. So it's phenomenal. Swimming is absolutely phenomenal for your body. It feels great, and it's great for all ages, 100%.
So you're a multi-sport athlete. You played baseball, obviously. How did high school baseball go for you? What positions did you play? And, how did that ultimately lead you to going on to college?
Yeah, so my story is very different than a lot of guests that you might have had because I saw your guest list and it was pretty bunch of studs that you've had on this podcast. My story is a little different. Long story short, I actually got cut from my junior varsity baseball team in high school where, my high school graduating class. I don't know what your high school graduating class was, but my high school graduating class was 1,200 people.
Mine was 306.
Right. So think about
mine wasn't even 300.
Right. So I had a humongous high school, one of the biggest. Actually, I think it might have been one of the biggest, or not the biggest in New York as far as population. Wow. So when you get cut from a junior varsity baseball team, the chances of making a varsity baseball team, I think, go down significantly. But I basically went up in the parking lot to my junior varsity baseball coach, and I said, look, he thought I was going to punch him in the face. I'm like, I would just love, I appreciate the opportunity. What are some things I can get, do to get better to make the varsity? And he told me, and he straight up told me, he's like, look, you got to hit better. You got to get better on defense. So, I had to make a choice, a pivot, whether to keep playing baseball or to maybe play golf or continue swimming. Long story short, made the varsity baseball team by the skin of my teeth. And the rest is history. I ended up playing 2 years at a community college in Westchester. They've won 5 region titles in a row, made it to the College World Series for junior college, and actually finished my career at Purchase College, and I was the captain and led the conference in hits, RBIs. I say that story not necessarily to be a braggadocio, but to show students that I'm teaching now that no matter what level you're at, you can always persevere, and through hard work, hard work and passion and perseverance, anything is possible. And that's where it's got me now to my business, my coaching business.
It's the Michael Jordan story, right? I mean, that's what was on Sunday night. That's what everybody always goes back and says. Michael Jordan got cut from his high school team, right? You know what I mean? And it's no joke in a way. And, if you don't have work ethic, it's going to catch up to you at some point, right, Justin? I mean, you probably played at the junior college level. It's probably more competitive than 50% of Division I schools, honestly. So, I mean, in saying that, what was the biggest challenge that you had going from high school? You overcame getting cut, you worked your tail off, you got better. Now you get to college, junior college, you got 2 years to get it going. You don't have time for a slump. You know what I mean? And there's another 20 guys coming in next year. So how did you manage all that? And what were some of those challenges going from one level to the next?
So another fantastic question. So I think junior college in general around the country, and I think it's getting more recognition now, but junior college in general, I don't think gets enough attention. Because I'm so glad you brought that up, because there are some junior colleges that I've seen, that I played against, that are ridiculous. I mean, they're just like kids throwing mid-90s, low 90s, left side, have bite on their fastball, not just flat, but bite on the ball from junior college. So I think junior college was a phenomenal opportunity to kind of get my bearings in order as far as kind of figure out what kind of baseball player I am, and more importantly, getting my academics up. So I thought it was a terrific move, and I kind of call it almost like a halfway house. Like it's kind of like the in-between. And if you take advantage of it, I mean, as a freshman, I got 145 at-bats. There's not a lot of freshmen at, say, even just a lower level to mid-level Division I getting 150 at-bats. Now, I probably wouldn't have gotten 150 at-bats at a Division I school as a freshman. So
against quality pitching.
Right. So I think junior college is a fantastic option to get your academics and obviously the baseball part and getting your repetition in. So it was a great transition. I had a very positive experience, very positive. It was exactly what I needed as a ball player.
Everyone says that, don't they, Dan? Everybody we interview says that, Dan. I mean, it's
and it is something that as someone, Tyler and I graduated in 2002 from high school, and it's one of those things where if I would have, because I just figured with myself, there's no way I'm going to be able to make a college team, not thinking of junior college, not thinking of a D3, I'm thinking of the colleges I see on TV. There's no way I'm going to make those teams. So I guess baseball's over for me. And so to hear this, it's so great, especially for like my kids and the kids that are listening to this show, that, hey, you don't make a D1, D2 school, it's not over with. You can keep going as long as you work hard.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I would say one thing I wanted to ask is, how important do you think it was to not sit and wait and just to keep playing in a way, Justin? I mean, a lot of guys, you get stuck, you're the second, third option on a roster as a freshman. Fall ball, if you don't do well in fall, chances of getting on the field in the spring are slim. I mean, how important was it coming right in and getting those 150 at-bats? Do you think that's what ultimately led you to getting, another opportunity at the next level into a four-year school?
1,000%. It's a great question. 1,000%. I don't think I'd be in the position, even as a coach in my business, because of that experience, because of the relationships I built, I still have today, which I'm sure you guys have the same relationships. But absolutely, it definitely made the transition a lot smoother. My confidence, not just the physical, but the confidence to know that as a freshman, I got 147, 45 at-bats. that I know as a junior no matter what the level is, as a junior going into my finishing off my degree as a bachelor, degree in my bachelor degree, it's going to be way easier. Baseball's not easy, but as far as comfortability and an easier transition for sure by doing those 2 years.
Now, I heard you say that you were the team captain when you went to Purchase, had a really successful year there. Couple or season, or how many years did you play there?
So it's a funny answer because unfortunately I had a bunch of injuries. I had a red shirt, then I played, then I was going to play again. And so technically I had 2 years, but I really was there 3 years, but I had 2 seasons there. Just a whole bunch of injuries. I had a season-ending concussion that was really bad. Running into a fence, diving. I made the catch though. Running to catch the ball, which is number one. Catching.
Perfect.
But that was a disaster as far as it literally put me out for the year. Like I was out for like 2 months. It was like so bad. But
man,
again, I don't regret anything. I don't look backwards, and it was a great experience at Purchase. It was a great. And I'll tell you, going back to the JUCO thing, I mean, I could have very easily played Division I after 2 years. His Purchase is D3, solid conference, Skyline Conference. I had options to play Division I, like at local New York, like in the MAC, and very good competition. Major league. Joe Panic's brother's the head coach at, I believe he's the head coach at Iona. I mean, there's some good baseball coming out of there. So, but again, it was like I had a scratch and claw, and I might have been the 6th or 7th outfielder where a Division III school said, "Hey, look, you're getting an education, you're going to play." I just had 140 at bats as a freshman. I'm going to take the Division III offer and play there. And ultimately, it was still very competitive.
I wanted to ask you about this because with being the team captain, there's a lot of kids listening to this. There's kids that we coach, and Tyler coaches on the 16 U level in high school and all that stuff. Being a captain on the team, you don't necessarily have to be the best player. You don't have to be, the one with the most talent. What is a captain to you? What makes a good captain a captain?
That's fantastic. That's a great question. You both asked fantastic questions. This is awesome. So it's funny you say that. I just spoke with my former high school baseball coach, and I run a baseball class, and I always give a message of the day. And I actually brought in my old high school baseball coach, and he talked about this. And I would just replicate exactly what he said because I agree with everything he's saying. There are 2 main critical factors that make a leader. One is, do people trust you? Not necessarily are you the best baseball player, but do people trust you when a coach or a teammate asks you to do something? I don't mean to be, like a servant, but when they ask you to do something, are you reliable? Do they trust you? I don't even look at necessarily talent. I've had phenomenal captains that I've seen and played for that they weren't the best players, but I could trust them. So I think first and foremost, number one is, are you trustworthy? 2, do you light up a room? Meaning when you show up to a field and when you show up to a practice or whatever, are you radiant? That doesn't necessarily mean the loudest, but are you making a difference in positivity? So can I trust you? Are you positive? Are you energetic? Those 2 things right away are huge. Like, do I know, are you talking smack behind my back? Are you talking smack behind someone else's back? Are you shaking the coach's hand every single time? Are you kind in your community? To me, that's bigger than baseball. That's what a leader is. And that to me is what a captain is.
One thing I want to ask you before we get too far into what you're doing and all now is, what players did you idolize growing up? And who did you resemble your game around, or who did you want to play like?
That's another great question. Well, I think the easy answer, because I'm a New Yorker, I'm actually not a Yankee fan, but the easy answer was Derek Jeter, because he was just the epitome of what being a class act and polish is all about. I mean,
a pro's pro, yeah. Right?
I mean, I don't know what guy did not give him that final vote for unanimous. It's ridiculous. But definitely Derek Jeter. I mean, he was just phenomenal, just on and off the field. As far as talent-wise, if you want to talk about like actual as a ball player, I love David Wright. Unfortunately, his career got cut short, and I believe he's a Virginia guy, right?
Yeah, Cavalier, yeah.
Yeah. So I would say yes. David Wright as a ball player and as a leader. Also 2 captains we're talking about here, ironically.
And I asked that because of, Dan brings up what is a captain, and you just brought up 2 guys that were faces of franchise. Those were not flashy guys. They showed up kind of lunchbox kind of guys. They showed up every day. They were ready to work. They prepared behind the scenes. They were always ready. No moment too big for either one of those kinds of guys. Always seemed to, have the ultimate respect of not just their teammates, but people in the league. And, I think that those qualities are the kind of qualities that, like you said, transcend the game of baseball. And when you're done playing, those are the things you rely back onto. And I wonder how much of that do you take now into your coaching?
Oh, 100%. I mean, I say this to my players all the time. There are 2 things you can control in your life, and it's your attitude and your effort. That's it. And if you bring both of those to a team, you're good in my book. You're on my team. Meaning, obviously, due to the levels, whatever level we're talking about here. But when I'm training kids and when I'm doing these classes and coaching teams and going into practices kind of as like a consultant, and I guess that's something we're going to talk about, but I always just look at, are you bringing a great attitude and are you bringing great effort? And that to me are the 2 things you can control in your life, and that's all I ask for. Because ultimately this is a game. Baseball is a game. It's our life. It's all of our lives, all 3 of us. But it's a game, and we have to understand that. But if you bring attitude and effort, that's all I really care about and look for.
Justin, could you talk about your first coaching job? How did you get into coaching? When did it start for you? Was it right after college? Did you wait a little bit? How did it all happen? And what was that experience like for you?
Yeah, so I actually finished. So as far as actual coaching, as soon as I was done playing, I basically had to find a job. And I'm like, okay, I'm not going to be a professional baseball player. I need to make money because money is important. No matter what anyone says, money is important. It's not everything, but it is very important. So I got a job as a coach. One of my former coaches said, hey, I need an assistant coach. He just dropped out. Ironically, that head coach just dropped out, so I became the head coach of a travel team locally in New Rochelle, and I fell in love with it. I just absolutely fell in love with coaching and mentoring, and there was a lot, and still to this day, there's a lot of things I didn't know, and I'm still learning now. But it was definitely, right then and there, as soon as I started coaching, even at a 12U team, I'm like, I want to do this forever. I want to just be around kids and mentor, and if I can make money doing it, it's the icing on the cake.
It doesn't matter. Like me and Dan text back and forth every day. And we're not even playing games yet, and we practiced all winter until we were shut down, and we were so pumped for the season and all those things. And you could have the worst day ever, but man, you get to that field and all that goes away, and you're just there to coach, and you're so excited. And it's like your 2 hours or 3 hours, whatever it is, to just put everything away and not worry about this or that or getting to the grocery store or kids' homework. You just show up and coach, and it's so enjoyable. It's so fun. But you just said that you're still learning. So what's been the hardest transition for you in going from player? Because not every player can teach the game. You know what I mean? And it's hard to get people to buy into your process. So, but what's been the hardest part from athlete to coach?
So I think the key word here as a coach, and as I'm doing this now for officially, I can't believe now I'm saying 7 years. I mean, now I started my company, Just in Time Baseball, officially 2 years ago, and it's been a real success. Something I definitely am starting to learn more and more and more is empathy. Empathy. I know Gary Vaynerchuk talks a lot about that. I'm sure you guys follow him. But empathy, really understanding that not everyone's potential is the same. Johnny's potential is not the same as Peter's potential. and really understanding and being empathetic to what they're going through. Maybe if they're not getting a concept, maybe it's not their fault. Maybe it's the way you're relaying it, or maybe they had a bad day at school and they're not responding because something's going on in their life. So understanding that they're people and not just like, look, because I felt I was a solid baseball player. I don't think it was an amazing baseball player. I thought I was pretty solid, had a solid college career at the end. I think just having empathy is a big, big thing I started to learn the last like 2-3 years.
It's huge. It's definitely huge. And I want to get into talking about just-in-time baseball because that's obviously something you're extremely passionate about. And I want to know, where did the idea come from? Was it just something just based off of what you were already doing and said, hey, you know what, I'm just going to brand this? And also, for the people that don't follow you yet, what all do you offer with just-in-time baseball?
So I was always giving baseball lessons during the time when I first started coaching. And then something I didn't mention, I actually got asked to be the hitting coach for Purchase College about 4 years ago. And I did that for a season. That was an amazing experience. So basically I was giving lessons. I started with one kid. I made a couple flyers, handed out some business cards that I made for like $20. And 3-4 years later, I probably have 175 kids in my Rolodex in my data system. As far as like, it turned into a full-on business, and it turned into, from a kid, young adult, giving some lessons, making money, to actually a company where I have instructors. And I put on, a year ago, an event. I started putting on events, as far as I did a Westchester baseball coaches clinic for all parent coaches a year ago. It was a huge success. It was really awesome. It really turned into me being an instructor and a young man giving lessons to a company. And I just said, I got to make this a little more legit. And I got to give my mom credit, because when I was born, the doctor said I came out, not to give you graphic images, but came out, and they said, you came out just in time. So I just figured, just in time, it's a good play on words. And I started Just in Time Baseball LLC, and I'm, it's just growing and growing. And even the virtual right now that I'm doing is, it's not really taking as much of a dip as I thought. I'm pretty busy, considering my company's pretty busy right now.
I just to follow up on what you were talking about, like, so, Tyler and I, we've been to coaches clinics, and and we're coaches of a fairly large organization in our hometown. But it was kind of cool when you had said parent coaches. You did a clinic for parent coaches. What are some of the topics you touch on during those clinics, especially with the parent coaches?
So
because I know for me, I just recently started coaching within the last year. I've always been that parent helper, but I've never been coach. So, getting with Tyler and finally becoming a coach, I've learned a lot from him. So I'm just curious, some of the things you go over.
I drug it out of him, Justin. I sucked all of that energy into being coach now, instead of just, I'll help when I
was
want
done
to.
with being Mr. Dan. I was Mr. Dan for too long. Now I'm Coach Dan.
I love it. Yeah. I mean, the thing I say to parents is, first of all, thank you, because parents, no matter what, and I'm sure that you deal with it in your area, it's all across the country. I talk to coaches all around the country, and I'm sure you're in a similar boat. Oh, get rid of parents. They're a disaster. They're terrible. Get rid of them. Only pro. I mean, by me in Westchester, it's an affluent area. Professional coaches, it's all over the place. So,
right.
A big thing is, I say number one to parents is thank you, because they are 100% the underbelly of Little League Baseball. We need parents between the ages of 8 to 13. We need parents involved. They're as young as 6, maybe 6 to 13. So they are the underbelly of Little League Baseball, and I say thank you. Number two, when I do a parent coaches clinic, I really don't talk as much about drills. If you go to YouTube, you go to all these resources, you could check on my page, whatever, just giving a plug to me. But there's so many coaches on Instagram that have phenomenal drills. But if you don't know how to deliver the message and have empathy, and that's something you can teach, that is teachable. If you don't have that, it's not going to be, you're not going to have as much fun coaching. So number one, thank the parents when I do that because they are appreciated. Me just coming in there and trying to sound like a big shot doesn't work. And number two is if I could teach them to understand what a player's going through and why. I'll give you an example. If you go to a practice and you have one coach and 13 kids in a line, what do you think's going to happen? I'm asking you.
One coach and 13 kids in a line. That sounds like a lot of talking and not paying attention, right?
Right. And then what do you think typically happens what a parent does?
Why am I spending my money for this?
Oh, yeah.
That or they start yelling at the kid for kicking dirt. And it's really not their fault. It's your fault because if I was that 8-year-old kid in a line of 13 kids, I'd be kicking dirt too, bored. So what I try to teach are ways and principles to keep kids more engaged and active. So whether it's rotations and groups and pairs, instead of having one kid going for a ground ball and 13 kids waiting, why don't you pair them up and they throw each other ground balls? This way, no one's standing around. Everybody's moving. They're in groups, and you can give them various drills. Yes, I teach drills, but like those things is what I teach in a parent coach's clinic. And that's where I find it's going to be the most successful because ultimately, if they can get one or two little nuggets on YouTube and they bring it to a practice, you can watch a YouTube on a train, on your way home from work for 2 minutes about a drill. So the principles of organization, I think, is key in a parent coach's seminar.
And no baseball field should ever be used for live batting practice with one coach in a bucket and everybody shagging. That's the one thing. Whenever I talk to anybody, please don't ever waste a baseball field for that because we will lose kids in this game of baseball. That's for sure. I want to dive in. You're in the heart of New Rochelle, this kind of the hotbed where it all started. So God bless you for being safe, for being healthy, and our hearts, all go out to that community in New York because it's definitely been hit hard. But
thank you.
What's been the biggest thing you see in young kids that kind of, man, if these parent coaches spent a little bit more time doing this with them, they'd be more prepared when they get to high school tryouts or, when they get to those varsity tryouts? What would be some of those things that maybe the 8 to 12-year-old parent coaches should spend more time focusing on with baseball players?
It's a fantastic question. Well, there's a lot, but if I had to break it down, this might sound very simple and corny, but how about just catching and throwing? Seriously. I mean, I see so many kids that even at 14 years old that don't understand the principles of having a basic catch, meaning, are you moving your feet? Are you receiving the ball like you're an infielder every time? Meaning, I see kids that are having a catch. Like, I can tell what kind of team you are by the way you warm up. So if you're having a catch and you're just like lollygagging, stepping, throwing, that's the kind of player you are, or you were taught by whatever coach. Like, I was very fortunate. I had some unbelievable coaches, and I'm sure you have as well. But I was taught by my coach, look, if you're not sweating during during a catch, you're not doing it properly. So as simple as the way you warm up and the way you have a catch and throw is critical. I'm telling you, it's critical. So that's something I really would like to see more. There are some practices where I just emphasize catching and throwing, not only at the 8U level, but at like the 13U level.
The first 30 minutes of every practice we do is all play and catch because it's a simple game of catch. That's what baseball is. If you can't play a game of catch, you're going to struggle. I mean, the game is built to play good defense, and it starts – if you can't throw and catch the ball, you're not going to make outs. I mean, Dan knows that. I've harped on that from the beginning that, if you're not busting your butt and doing those details and fundamentals there, we're not going to move on. I'm not going to let you do the fun stuff. We go from playing a good game of catch to base running because we're going to get that over with. Before you get to go hit, before you get to go do all the fun stuff, we're going to put in the work because if you got to leave early or whatever happens, you've put into basic fundamental work the details of the game that matter the most, I think. And Dan, thank God he's my assistant and has bought into it, because some coaches would be like, this is a waste of time. But you see how important it is, and the throwing progressions that we go through, and then even making it a simple game of 21 where, you're hit the chest, hit the
Totally.
face, if it's outside the body. I mean, everything should be a competition. Like, and if
So
you
true.
make it fun, the young kids buy into it, and they know. And actually, it's fun because we can sit back and watch the kids almost get their first 30 minutes of practice going without us even having to tell them.
Yep.
Spot on. You're spot on. Absolutely spot on. It's a great point.
Justin, I wanted to, before we hit record today, I had made the comment, I'm sure you are supposed to be a lot more busy than you are right now. And you said, well, I kind of am. And yes and no, because right now in this time of this downtime and this horrible thing that's happening across the world, when it comes to an athlete, especially a baseball or softball player, you can either use this time to sit on your butt and say, man, I wish we could play, or you could be putting in the work, swinging off of a tee, playing catch outside with your dad, whatever that might be. So in your business, how busy have you been when it comes to, doing online lessons or having these online conversations? And also to tag on that for the kids that are home right now thinking, well, maybe I should do something. What's the message to them?
So when this all hit us, and again, like you said, as weird and creepy as this may sound, I like saying epicenter. I never thought I'd say epicenter so much, but we were the epicenter in New Rochelle. I mean, we were quote unquote first case. So, the lockdowns and the quarantine started early March. I mean, I've been home for a month and a half already, 2 months. So, my business at first, it was like a carpet just got swept right under me. 90%, 95%. So think of that.
Right.
And then all of a sudden the trickle down effect, the NBA shutting down and MLB shutting down. And then, then it was basically 100%. So I thought to myself, a lot of the kids in my area, thinking bigger than baseball, are not getting physical education currently. So I actually am getting, on top of running my company, I'm getting my master's in physical education part-time as well.
Nice.
So I said, you know what, why don't I just provide like a baseball-oriented physical education, do a little football, a little whatever. I just threw it out there, and all of a sudden the whole thing blew up into a whole thing. I mean, I have, like I was saying before, I have kids from Colorado. I don't know if I was telling you, but I have kids from Colorado. Their cousin lives in New York, and someone lives in Colorado. One kid from Arizona, a kid from Upper New York. So it turned into from a negative to a positive, where now I'm reaching kids all over the country. And I'm doing like a physical education class. I'm running team practices, private lessons, one-on-one lessons. And I'm trying not to sit on my hands. I've actually been, right now it's 7:36 on the Eastern time PM, 7:36 PM. I've been working since 9 a.m. So, as far as busyness, I'm actually just as busy. It's just behind a computer screen. Obviously, it's not the same as one-on-one. I can't give a kid a hug, which I miss, as crazy as that sounds. I just miss giving a kid a hug and just saying, great job. But again, it's still, the business is rolling. The engine's moving.
Actually, you brought up Gary Vee earlier. I was listening to a podcast he did with somebody else, and he said, this is the time where we'll find out who the fake entrepreneurs are. This is the time, the ones that, can reinvent themselves, that can figure out a way. This is where prosperity will be born from, is what you do in this time. And you're reinvesting in yourself. You're reinventing your business. I mean, who knows where this could spin off to in 3-6 months for you. I mean,
right.
Incredible stuff, man. I mean, you could always, pour me. And we've said, honestly, our podcast, we've gotten a hold of guests we could have never gotten a hold of this month. And we've been able to get information out to people we never could have gotten to them in this time if it weren't for this, which, as terrible as it is, it's good for some things. It's terrible for others, but you can either, take it as a flaw or turn and look for the positive and try to take something out of it.
You hit the nail on the head, and the key word here is pivot. And I even say this to my players, speaking about your podcast, which I'm not just saying. I really did some research on you guys, and I really looked into it. You guys are true professionals. You guys are awesome.
Thank you.
You guys are silky smooth. just like you're reaching out to players at, at this time, what is it, Thursday? I don't even know what day it is. Thursday at 7:30, they're coming off the ball field this time, but you're getting people to do a podcast. I mean, I wouldn't be here at this time, but since I'm home, I love this stuff. But I say the same thing to players. Like, I have players reaching out to me that I never would have heard from. And I tell my players, look, why don't you reach out to, I took one of my players likes Aaron Judge. I said, you know what? Send him a video. Send him a video of your swing. You love Aaron Judge. I know that sounds crazy. Will he get back to you? Probably not, but maybe. Maybe. I put up a video the other day of Alex Bregman hitting a ball. And I was talking about how he's turning tight, blah, blah, blah. And this was during the nighttime or whatever, when they might be playing a game. Alex Bregman reached right back out to me. He's like,
wow.
dude, I'm trying to turn tight. I mean, that's a true story. So, I mean, this is an opportunity for players too, not just for business opportunity, but have kids reach out to coaches, reach out to Phillies man Joe Girardi, or reach out. Why not? Like, why not do it? I feel like they'd be happy to do it.
On that note, I was really looking forward to the Phillies season this year with Joe Girardi there.
Oh, he's awesome. He's great. I know him well. I actually know him personally. I used to coach his son, Dante.
Really?
Yeah, he's a fantastic guy. He's from Westchester, where I live. He's a fantastic guy, Joe Girardi.
He's a New Yorker, man, through and through, dude. Honestly, Aaron, you can say whatever you want about Aaron Boone, man. I think they lost something when they lost Girardi, but all 100%. Things got to change. Things got to change and move on.
Totally. You guys like the Philly. I mean, Girardi is really, really just awesome. He's a great guy.
We're actually Orioles fans, but I lived in a split household where it was half Philly, half Baltimore. So I learned to love both. But the Orioles are my team, but I love watching the Phillies.
Do you know Patrick Jones?
No.
Team coach for the Orioles.
Oh, from the Patrick Jones podcast.
Yes, there we go.
Yeah.
I was like, well, I know that sounds familiar.
We have Ryan Fuller on too, who's supposed to be coaching in the Orioles organization this year, and poor guy. We were supposed to catch up with him in July. Maybe we will. Who knows? So.
Yeah, because I could definitely. I know we talked about it earlier. I mean, I could definitely put you two in touch, and he's with the Orioles. So.
Yeah. Awesome. As soon as you said the name, I was like, why do I know that name? Like, Tyler, did we talk to this guy? I swear to God, we talked to this guy. But that's why.
Hey, Justin, before we wind down, we got a few more questions. Are there any topics or anything we missed maybe that you want to speak to? This is kind of the opportunity. The floor is yours. So whatever you want to, go on about, if we haven't brought it up yet, go for it, brother.
So, I mean, when I'm speaking, first of all, and I'm repeating myself over and over and over and over again, but I really just appreciate you having me on, because anything to stay busy and productive and talk baseball, especially to you two that are just true pros, it's awesome, and I appreciate it. I would just say to players listening, because I know you have a huge following. I was watching you guys. Just stay patient and persevere, because baseball will be played. We don't know when it's going to be played, but it will be played. And let's detach from the outcome and enjoy the process and enjoy every minute. Enjoy the tee swings you're taking right now. Enjoy the videos you're watching. Enjoy the downtime. I mean, it's important to grind. And I would say, as an entrepreneur, and you guys are entrepreneurs, like, grinding is important, but it is important to kind of take a half-hour break and an hour break and do something silly, which is part of being an entrepreneur. I would say to students, and this is what I would just leave you with, is enjoy the process, be patient, but persevere at the same time.
Now, that might be the answer to the next question I'm going to ask you. So if you could go back and tell your younger self anything, what would it be? Oh,
very simple. Very simple. Enjoy the game. I don't think I enjoyed the game as much. Of course, I loved it, but like, I'm talking the little things. Like, when I look back now, like, yeah, I was an all-conference hitter. Yeah, I was the captain of my baseball team. It's awesome. But I don't even look at my statistics ever. All I care about is what kind of teammate was I? Did I really enjoy that walk-off win? Did I really enjoy the process? And I would say this game, as you guys know better than anybody, the game goes quickly. look what happened to us now. I mean, we should be playing right now. And my biggest thing I would tell kids, young players, and this is why I got into this profession, is enjoy the process. Enjoy it. Soak it in. I'm not saying be a silly slacker, but enjoy the game, enjoy your teammates, and savor every second of it. As you can see now, it's fragile. The life is fragile, and enjoy every moment.
Definitely. One thing I wanna ask, and you're an entrepreneur, you're grinding, and you've kind of pivoted. So I'm sure your brain's probably been racing in between that 30-minute break that you do something silly. But like, what would be some of your goals in the next 3 to 5 years? That it doesn't have to be with just-in-time baseball, but obviously you said you just went back to school. You got so many irons in the fire that when you're doing all of that, only good things can come from it. So what would be some of the things you'd like to accomplish in the next 3 to 5 years?
So I would really just say, like I said to my players on this podcast, like I'm saying to players, I want to enjoy every minute of it, and yes, I want to have goals. I have goals. But at the same time, I want to enjoy the process. But if I had to say anything, I just want to help as many kids and parents as possible around the world, not even the country, the world.
Great goal.
I just want to really help. I just what's the term? Selfishly selfless. But like, I just get off on really serving, filling a need, and helping as many parents as possible. I mean, now is a perfect time right now that I'm, there's a need for kids that are just sitting at home. I just thought to myself, develop a phys ed class, develop baseball classes, whatever. So to answer the question, I want to just get my just-in-time baseball brand and help as many kids and parents and be a mentor to as many people as possible. My brand.
It's an excellent set of goals there, my friend. Love it.
It's crazy. You say the world, and me and Dan, like when we started this thing, we had no idea. 5 years ago, we didn't know we'd be doing a podcast. Hell, 5 years ago, I barely knew Dan. But like the first time we looked it up, and we're like, shoot, we got downloads in India, Pakistan, Japan, South Korea, Australia, Canada. I mean, like you say, it can happen. So for those people that are listening to this, and you might just be like you that started with one kid. Now it's 175 kids. Now it's kids across the country. I mean, like we were just talking to our friends that knew who we were in a podcast. And now we're talking to people around the country and around the world. It's incredible. So, for anybody who thinks it can't happen, it can, and it can happen quick if you work at it.
And that's the message. It's not necessarily, and I'm not surprised you grew the way you grew. You guys are so damn smooth. But I mean, it's not necessarily to be a major leaguer. Most kids are not even going to be a professional baseball player. And that's not really I work with pro guys, but my bread and butter is young as 5 years old and teaching the game and principles and positivity. My whole message and my just-in-time baseball mission statement is have kids reach their potential and life lessons through baseball and softball.
Excellent. Justin, we love this podcast just because we're able to connect ourselves with people we'd never have a chance to talk to before. And it's also giving a story and knowledge to all of our listeners every single week. So I wanted to ask you if you could recommend anyone to come onto this show, who would that person be?
So like I mentioned earlier, I don't know, I looked a little bit about your past guests, and you have some star-studded guests that you have. I was really looking at some of their backgrounds, really impressive. I don't know if you had Patrick Jones, but I think because you guys maybe are a little biased, as a joke, I am very friendly with Patrick Jones. So he is the Baltimore Orioles minor league hitting coach, as well as Ryan Fuller. But him or a gentleman by the name of Dan Fiorito, who's talk about a great story. He played at a Division III school, that played in my conference. And kid got not drafted, but signed by the Yankees for, I don't even know, very little money for baseball. And he ended up, long story short, making it to AAA. And he now is the Staten Island Yankees manager after playing Division III baseball. So I have those two guests on my mind, and as soon as we're done with this, I will 100% put you two in touch, and hopefully it works out.
Perfect. Thank you so much. We'd really appreciate it.
Hell yeah, man. That'd be
Anything
great.
I can do to help you guys. You guys are fantastic. This was awesome.
Thank you.
We appreciate it. We appreciate it, brother. For those who, love what you're saying, love what you're doing, want to follow along, maybe they live in Southern California, maybe they live in Florida, where can people find you at online? What's your website? You got a YouTube page, whatever people can do to get information from Just in Time Baseball, where can they find it?
So you could just follow me on Instagram at just basically Just in Time Baseball. And then I have a website, www.justintimebaseball.com. You could just YouTube Just in Time Baseball, Justin Sherman. I'll pop right up, Justin Sherman Baseball. And then my regular Facebook page, not as active on Facebook, should be more active, but Instagram, YouTube, my website, you'll find all that stuff. And if any of your listeners, parents, players want like a breakdown or analysis of their swing, they could, no charge, just send it on over, and or even just ask if a parent wants to ask a question about something or how you deal during this quarantine, I'd be glad to help them out. No, obviously no charge, nothing, just send them on over.
Excellent.
I was about to say, dude, you've been going live on Instagram like every day. So for anybody who follows you, man, it's easy to ask questions. It's awesome.
I'm all open. We're all in this together as a country. So I'm here to help.
Absolutely. Well, Justin, it's been awesome, man. I got one more question for you. We always round out the podcast with this last question because we're big music lovers, and I'm a musician, and I feel that music really tells a lot about the person, especially when they're in a position to conquer, to get something done. So if you had one at bat in the major leagues, what song would you choose as your walk-up song to the plate?
So I saw you post that on Instagram. I didn't expect that. I love that post you put up. So yeah, the one you put up, I'm the Man. I know it's kind of cheesy, but I'm the Man. That was my college walk-up song. I loved it. I just love the song, and I love the word. I'm the Man. There we go.
I was a little loud there. Sorry.
I love it.
Awesome, man. Well, I appreciate it, man. It's a good tune. I actually listened to it before we had the interview, just because I haven't heard that song in a long time.
So great. But you guys, I appreciate you having me. I think that's it for me. I think that's my last hurrah as far as for today. But I mean, you guys are just true professionals, and keep up the great work. And if you need any help, I'm here to help you.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks, brother. Hey, man, stay healthy. New Rochelle, we are thinking of you guys. New York, we can do this. We can overcome it, man. And when you have that big clinic again, we'd love to come up and visit. New York ain't that far.
Anytime.